So you're considering a move to North Idaho and the Silver Valley has caught your eye. Or maybe you don't know where the Silver Valley is, but now you're curious. Well, you're in the right spot because in this video, I'm going to take you on a Google Maps tour of the Silver Valley. We're going to talk about some landmark specific towns. And if you stick around to the very end, I'm going to tell you about the 1910 Pulaski fire and what that means to you. All right, let's jump right in. Kristen, myself, and our team of former first responders, we get calls, texts, and emails every single day from people just like you trying to learn more information about North Idaho. And we love helping people make the move up here. So if you're looking to move right now or 12 months from now, give us a call, text, or an email, and let's get that conversation started. All right, here we go. Jumping right in to our map tour of the Silver Valley in Idaho. Here we are. We're pretty zoomed out right now. You can see Coeur d'Alene, the city of Coeur d'Alene right here, Lake Coeur d'Alene right here. So we're going to be focused on this area off of Interstate 90. This is Interstate 90 that runs all over to Montana, all the way over to Montana. So we're covering this section running east-west right here, known as the Silver Valley, and it encompasses a bunch of little towns here, and could be of interest to you because home prices there tend to be a little bit cheaper than anywhere else. And there are some reasons for that, and I'm going to get into those. So first stop, as you're coming out of Coeur d'Alene, heading eastbound on Interstate 90, well, there's one thing I got to mention here. Wolf Lodge. This has nothing to do with the Silver Valley, but there's a phenomenal steakhouse here known as the Wolf Lodge Steakhouse. If you're ever in the area, you got to check that out. Okay, first stop on the way to the Silver Valley is going to be something called 4th of July Pass. 4th of July Pass is important because it is a rather high area elevation-wise, so when it snows, this can get pretty hammered with snow. So there's an exit here. You can jump off of the freeway, Interstate 90, and access on the north side of the road is Forest Service land that you can access that for motorized vehicles. And on the south side, you come down in here, and that is for cross-country skiing, Nordic skiing. The trails are groomed. There's like 13 miles of groomed trails out there. I just found all this out, so I got pretty excited about it because that's something I want to get into this year. There are warming huts along the way. And like I said, groomed trails. So pretty cool. And if you're into the motorized stuff, snowmobiles, things like that, you get off on the north side of 90 and you can access that Forest Service land from over there. So 4th of July Pass sometimes gets shut down in the wintertime when we get a heavy snow. That's something to think about. Because if you're commuting to work every day from the Silver Valley towards Coeur d'Alene, you may have some issues. It's not that common, but it does happen. So it's something to think about. And sometimes they throw on chain control, which means you have to have chains to be allowed to go over the pass. Sometimes they shut it down entirely. So that can happen. Like I said, it's not super common, but it does. All right. Just wanted to mention that. Cross-country skiing, pretty cool. Just as a landmark, Highway 3 right here. So this is 90, runs east-west from Washington all the way across Idaho to Montana. This is Highway 3 running north-south. And this runs through what's called the Chain Lakes. So you've got Rose Lake, Killarney Lake, Black Lake. Is that Blue Lake? Okay. And then this runs all the way down to Harrison. So you can take Highway 3, cut over here on 97 to Harrison, or stay on Highway 3 down to St. Mary's, which is probably the largest town on the south end of the lake there. Harrison's a cool little town. I got to do a video on Harrison. Not a whole lot going on there, but real pretty. Nice area in the summer, too, to go camping. So there's Highway 3. The first little town you'll come across here, and Cataldo has a population of about 1,600. Just for reference, Cataldo to Coeur d'Alene, 30-minute drive in good weather. So it's commutable if you're working in Coeur d'Alene or somewhere over this way to commute from Cataldo. Totally possible. It is freeway all the way there, so it's pretty fast going. They are doing some construction in there right now, but they're always doing construction somewhere in North Idaho, so you'll get used to it. But generally, when the weather's good, it's like a nice, easy, pretty fast commute to get there. Cataldo also has the Cataldo Mission, which is pretty cool. There it is right there, Old Mission State Park. From the 1800s, it's a mission built up here, and that's probably one of the first things that was settled in this area of Cataldo was that. Cool thing, you can go check it out. You can do, field trips there or whatever, take the family there, check that out. Okay, moving, we've got Kingston. These towns have stuff. It's not a lot. They'll have like a little grocery store, coffee shop, maybe a little hardware store, tire shop, things like that. So you can do a lot of your normal daily activities out here without having to go into Coeur d'Alene every day. So it's very livable. So Kingston's got a population of 1,049, and this would be where you would access the Coeur d'Alene River, which is an awesome place to come recreate. So you can follow it out, take the exit here at Kingston and just go up along the Coeur d'Alene River. There's camping up that way, lots to do, and you can lose yourself in public land if you keep going, quite literally, if you don't know where you're going. So that's a cool spot. Then into Pinehurst, that's a little bit bigger. Pinehurst has a population of 1,729 and a little more going on here. Let's see if I zoom in. There's a golf club. Didn't know that. Let's see if I can pull up any of the amenities here. There we go. Okay, so coffee shop. There's a grocery store here, Barney's Harvest Foods. You've got towing, hair salon, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's there. So like I said, you can kind of not have to commute into town every day, which is nice. Okay, moving on down. Smelterville. Not the best name, to be honest with you. So the Silver Valley gets its name from obviously mining operations that were going on there I think from like the late 1800s. Still to this day, there are active mines in the area. So part of mining is smelting off some of the metals. So that's where the name Smelterville comes from, and you'll see things like that out here. Smelterville has a population of 691. There you go. You've got this Walmart can service, most of the Silver Valley, so that's nice. It's accessible. And another golf course. There's your coffee shop, little market, Dave Smith Tire Shop. So Dave Smith is a big auto sales name out here. They're actually out in the Silver Valley and in Coeur d'Alene, but they're big in auto sales. So potential for jobs out that way if that's what you're looking for. And Walmart up here, more potential for jobs. So you can find them. I should mention there are lots of homes, like if you're looking for specific homes, up in the hills here too, that are not in these little towns but are close by. So those are options, which, nice to have. Moving down to the biggest little city here in the Silver Valley, and there's a good reason why, and I'll tell you in a moment. Kellogg. So Kellogg is the home of Silver Mountain Ski Resort, right over here. Silver Mountain's kind of neat because the actual resort is like pretty far south of here, but you come in here and you park and you get on a gondola, and it's like a 30-minute gondola ride to the actual mountain. Now, the downside to that is when one of your kids forgets their gloves in the car, and now you have a cold kid or another 30-minute ride back down to grab the gloves and then back up. Not cool. So double check that before you hit the slopes. Am I speaking from personal experience? That's the question. Okay, so Kellogg, they've got the ski resort. That is the closest ski resort to Coeur d'Alene, and it's totally nice. Season passes are pretty cheap. It's not Schweitzer, which is up in Sandpoint. That's much nicer, sort of Tahoe-esque if you're familiar with that area. But I would say a lot of the locals come to Silver Valley because it's cheaper and it's really close. I mean, we're talking a 45-minute ride, car ride to get here. And then, your 30-minute gondola ride. Not bad. So other thing that Silver Mountain has, which is really cool, and it's right here in the same location, is the Silver Rapids, which is an indoor water park. And they've got a hotel. So you can book a room at the hotel. You could go skiing. You could play in the water park, and it's pretty cool. It's not hokey. It's nice. So that's a big attraction for Kellogg, and that's why the population's bigger. It's got a lot more going on here. Apparently a brewery too. Osborne has a population of 1,625. So there's some stuff going on here too. Got Watson's Market. There's your coffee shop. Gotta have that. So a good option to live too. These are all good options. Homes here are much cheaper than Coeur d'Alene. And like I said, stick around and I'll tell you another reason why that might be. Okay, nothing huge to note there. Well, sorry, Silverton, I didn't write any facts down about you. We're going to skip you. Okay, Wallace. Wallace is a cool town. It's got a really nice downtown. If you go check it out, a lot of old brick buildings, a lot of history there. It is the seat of Shoshone County, which is the county that this Silver Valley is in. And Wallace is about a 48-minute drive to Coeur d'Alene on a good day. So that's kind of nice. Wallace, the freeway, I heard a story that they were going to put the freeway right through the middle of Wallace, which would have totally destroyed the town. And somehow people fought it, and now it's this elevated. It's interesting. When you get off the freeway, you come down, you're like below it. The town is kind of below the freeway here. I mean, you can see it. It's not beautiful, but it doesn't really impact the town like it would have if it went through the center of town. So they did preserve the history of it. It's kind of cool. There's a lot of cool homes that sit here on the hill. Tons of history there, and some nice restaurants. I shouldn't say some. There's like maybe a couple. Look at that. Brewing company, got your grocery store. So cool town. We're getting a little farther away from Coeur d'Alene, so if you're trying to commute, that might be a bit much. Like I said, it's 48 minutes. One really neat thing, I've got two facts. I'm going to give you one right now. There's a very famous bike trail here called the route, however you say it, of the Hiawatha. You just have to Google it, but it's here near Wallace, and it runs on an old railway line that is extremely scenic. You ride your bike through multiple tunnels. So you take a shuttle up, and then you start, and it's 15 miles, and it's pretty. Since it's an old railroad, it's pretty flat, so it's relatively easy. And you ride your bike through some tunnels and on top of trestles, train trestles, and the scenery is unbelievable. So that is a cool thing to do right there in Wallace, the route of the Hiawatha. Search that up, check it out. It'd be a good thing to do with the family. Okay, I'm going to get back to the other fact about Wallace in a minute, so don't go anywhere. All right, Mullen. This will be the last little town I tell you about before we hit the Montana border. Unfortunate population of 666 people. Sorry, Mullen. Not a whole lot going on here. I don't think I've ever even stopped off in there driving through. But, it's a couple little things, grocery store, gas, stuff like that. And then, not far down the road, we hit the old Montana border, which I know is right here because here's another ski resort. Lookout Pass is right on the border of Montana. So there's the Welcome to Idaho sign. So there it is. Duh. So here's the border. I was expecting it to run north-south, but it's funky. Okay, so that's how far it is to Montana from there. So it's not too far. All right, backing out. Now I'm going to give you some important details about the Silver Valley. That might change your mind or not. I don't know. It's up to you. Okay, so checking my notes here. Silver Valley is a super fund site. I did not say super fun. There's a D on the end of that. Super fund. That means it's basically a toxic waste area. And that is from heavy metal contamination from mining and milling. It's about a 1,500 square mile area. And it runs northern Idaho and eastern Washington, that super fund site. It's contamination from the mining that has gone on since, 1886-ish. It's been being mined over here and is still currently being mined. So the soil, sediment, groundwater, and surface water are contaminated with heavy metals like lead and arsenic. That sounds terrible. Why would you want to live there? That's what you're asking me. Well, plenty of people do, and they have done a lot to clean it up. And I believe it is fairly safe at this point. It used to not be so safe, and they had high levels of lead in the blood of the children that were living there. And they do test them periodically, and that has come down to below EPA levels, if you trust the EPA. And something to consider, a lot of that mining is down in the, along the lower parts, right? If you buy a home up in the mountains, it's less likely to be impacted by mining. Potentially in the groundwater, of course, if you're running a well, but things you can test for, so it's not the end of the world. A lot of cleanup has been completed and is still going to take decades. And you can find all this online if you just Google Bunker Hill Superfund site. Not super fun. So if you were to buy a home there, there's a disclosure that you actually have to sign that says that you're aware of all this. But now you're aware. And like I said, plenty of people choose to live there. It's not necessarily something to run away from. Lots of testing has been done. And cleanup. Some of that cleanup involves they replaced topsoil in home yards, parks, commercial space, schools. They took up like 6 inches of that topsoil or whatever needed to be taken up and then replaced it. And that solved a lot of the problem. Now they also have they've upgraded water treatment facilities. They're rehabbing unused mining sites, and there's constant monitoring going on of the waterways and soil. So it is what it is. Now you're aware of it. Check this out. From 1886 to 1982, Silver Valley Mines produced 7.5 million tons of lead. That's cool. We use lead for a lot of stuff, so it's not all bad. 6.25 million pounds of silver. Hot damn, that's a lot of silver. 4 million pounds of zinc and some copper and gold. So those have been very productive mines, especially the silver. That's cool. Good for whoever owns that. And that's why the Silver Valley is what it is today. Some of that runoff has run into the Coeur d'Alene River and Lake Coeur d'Alene on the southern end down there where the river comes into the lake. I have not done a ton of research on that. I will do that in the future, but I know it is in some of the sediment at the bottom of Lake Coeur d'Alene. So something to think about. Don't drink the water. Back to Wallace. I've got one more fact for you, and then we will call it. Where's Wallace? Over this way. Okay, we went way too far. There we go. Okay, just south of Wallace. Screwed it up already. It's probably not going to be on the map here. Oh, spoke too soon. There it is. If you end up going to school out here, your kids do, you will probably go on a field trip to this spot right here. And this has some cool history that I did not know. That is the Pulaski Tunnel Trail. So in 1910, fires were raging because it was a very dry summer. Weird. I thought we only had dry summers now. Well, it was dry back then too. And these fires burned 3 million acres, and it was a raging inferno. There was a gentleman, a U.S. Forest Service firefighter named Ed Pulaski, and he was up here with his fire crew, and they got trapped. Ed knew the area, and he herded them all into an abandoned mine tunnel where they waited out the fire. So the fire was raging, and if you've been in a wildfire, they're extremely hot. There's usually winds. Sometimes the heat creates its own wind, and it's literally hell on earth. So these guys, there were 45 of them and 2 horses. They hunkered down in this mine, and the heat actually drew all the cold air out of the mine and replaced it with hot and smoky air. So Ed had his guys lay down on the floor of the mine to try to avoid the smoke, and they were breathing through, wet fabric. The timbers at the front of the mine caught on fire, so they were trying to put those out. Lots of the men sustained third-degree burns. 6 of them died from smoke inhalation. The horses died as well. But 39 of them survived and made it out of that mine and survived that fire, which is crazy. It was probably pretty terrifying. It would be my guess. So pretty cool story. So that trailhead's located about a mile south of Wallace. and you can go out there, hike up to the top. I think it's 2 miles each way, and it is fairly steep, but you can sit there and see the opening in the mine where these guys hunkered down for the night, and most of them survived. Now, the cool thing here, and if you've ever been around the firefighting world or know a hose dragger or two, you've probably heard of a Pulaski tool. I think they're particularly used in wildland firefighting. So that tool was obviously named after Ed Pulaski, this U.S. Forest Service firefighter, and it's still in use today. So that was my cool fact for you. I was pretty excited to go on that trip when I went there a couple years ago with my kid, and maybe you'll have the same experience. That concludes my Google Maps tour of the Silver Valley. Hopefully I didn't terrify you with the Superfund site. That's why I followed that up with the Pulaski story, because that's a pretty cool story. Like I said, it's a great place to live. Homes are a lot cheaper. Land is cheaper. A lot of the land is rugged and mountainous, so you're not going to get flat land like you'd find up in Athol or the Prairie here north of Coeur d'Alene. But it's mountainous, a lot of good views, and pretty remote. Still enough with these towns where you're not having to drive to Coeur d'Alene every day if you don't need to, and plenty of access to public land, which is awesome. So could be a good option for you. If you have additional questions, you know where to find me. The email is obvious. Give me a call, text, or email, and let's get that conversation started. We would love to talk to you guys. Our team is comprised of all former first responders and one current first responder. And we do that on purpose because integrity is number one for us. And that's our main value. And hopefully that value resonates with you as well. If it does, give us an email, call, text, whatever. Let's get the conversation started. We would love to help you guys make that smooth move right here in North Idaho.